So you have to just find the uniqueness in yourself, and that's how you build your market platform.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. And so what we're going to talk about is, millennial. Are you a millennial? You seem to be too young for that. Entrepreneurial success. All right. And so I have my guest today is actually one of our clients that's doing some big things in the fashion world, Mr. Myles Nicholls. Myles, welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So it's so funny. I've heard about him since he was like 10 because his dad is one of my clients. And then I was like, yeah, my son graduated. He's doing something. He actually went to college with my nephew. So it's funny. It's a small world. And what I wanted to do is I'm starting to run into a lot of children of our clients. And, my daughter's a similar age. So I wanted to kind of bring out, it's really for young or old people, but for younger people, like what are the secrets of success? What catapults you in your mind from from college to, hey, I can start my own thing. But before we go there, tell them what I didn't tell them. Tell them about yourself and what you're doing, where you and what you went to school for, and then let's bring me up to the future.
Okay. So I'm Myles Nicholls. I'm known by Malo by many as like my artist name.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the owner of a clothing brand called Emotional Therapy that's based in Philadelphia, PA. I started the brand back in 2020, but however, before that, the conception of my idea in fashion and the segue to where it's at, it was started back mainly in my college years of 2016 and 2020 at Jefferson University, which was formerly known as Philadelphia University.
Mm-hmm.
There I went for fashion merchandising and management, where while I was there, I also was working in other ways to just kind of get my hands and feet in, the fashion industry. So I was going to things like Fashion Week. I was designing like sneakers back then just for like, for the fun of it, but then it started its own business. So I was able to kind of slowly get myself in rooms and in places that before I always would see people in. However, now I'm in them. So leading fast forward to 2020, starting the business, it didn't start as a direct business. It was more of a conversation that was being held with myself, my therapist, me just trying to just learn about those around me just because I was trying to regain my own self-knowledge. So by doing that, I want to learn about others as well. So as I'm going through 2020 and I'm learning and having these conversations, I'm also realizing that these conversations are healing me and they're healing others around me. And I decided to release a product because that was my form of conversation, my form of communication, and it was a hoodie. The success of the hoodie and the monetary gain of the hoodie was actually all donated to mental health awareness, the first one, and then the second one we donated to Black Lives Matter to assist wrongly convicted protesters.
Mm-hmm.
So as I realized that this is something that not only was helpful, but it was also something that a conversation around it just could not stop. So I decided to then pursue it into what it is now, a full-fledged brand, to continue that said conversation as well as elevate the things around me that I haven't seen before.
Oh, that's great. Let's go back for a second before we move forward,
Mhm.
because so this wasn't your first venture, right? You
Yeah.
started really 2 or 3 things before this took off. Talk
Yeah.
about that. Like, and so you were, while you were in college still, right?
Yeah.
The sneakers, the whatever. How did that go? And what did you learn from those ventures that help you today? Like, would you do, would you learn, would you take away from that? Because people think it's like, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to take off, but it's a lot of little stuff that leads to the big thing.
Yeah. So while I was in college, I didn't have a job often. I kind of focused more on my schoolwork. and
Mhm.
the times I have had it, it was actually in the sneaker stores. So it was something where sneakers are always oriented in, but my life, they call it sneakerheads. And I was one of those sneakerheads of just buying
Okay.
shoes and going to events and things like that. So for myself, I was also like an artist. And I looked at like artists around me that I like ASAP Rocky and a lot of like other famous ones, especially from New York, who did really cool things with their style. And for myself, I decided to a cool thing will be customizing sneakers. And my customization style wasn't just solely always just painting the whole entire shoe a different color. It was like making storylines of whoever it was around me or whoever the
Mhm.
client was onto the
Mhm.
shoe. So I would take elements of hip hop, elements of fashion, elements of their personal life and whatever else they're into or just any music, and I would kind of base it around this silhouette of an Air Force One, Nike Air Force One. And once they would receive it from me, it will be an entirely basically a new shoe within the art itself of where when you kind of turn it, you see basically the story of them on the shoe.
Mhm.
And for me, I didn't really take it as like I took it as an opportunity, of course, just to obviously as a college student, broke college student, being able to, put some extra money in my pockets, help myself out while being there. But I realized that once I was in it and I was doing it so consistent that around the world or just even around the country, people started to recognize it from my Instagram posts. So then I was luckily enough and fortunate enough to start working with companies like 300 Entertainment, which is a music label. I worked with a lot of rappers, a lot of musicians. I've even been lucky enough to where I was in China on a school trip, like for like back like for a whole study abroad. And one of my clients, it was from China, and I actually met him while being there to give him his shoe
Wow.
directly.
Okay.
So, yeah, being able to do those things, that was like the ventures, and then I was going from there to then dyeing, customizing clothing, and then that was something a new venture while being there, and kinda just again, my form of fashion was always pretty unique. It wasn't just, "Okay, well, here's a shirt with a screen print, now here's the thing." It was like I was doing a lot of things by hand and kinda studying what each thing could be altered as and changed as. So I think that allowed me to not only learn more about the garment, but then also I started to learn more about color designing and how do I can I manipulate colors into
Mhm.
something new for whoever the client is.
Wow. Okay. What let me ask you this. What is a how would you define success personally, and how does your definition of success uh influence your approach to running your business?
Um, I think my definition of success, I would say from a personal standpoint, especially from also experiencing sometimes form of success, is
Mhm.
where one, of course, the comfortability of wanting to be able to do certain things you want to do. I'm a
Mhm.
big traveler, and to success and the feeling of the luxury of being able to kind of freely move
Right.
is a big portion of what success is to me because growing up, of course, my family's not from America. My family's from Barbados. I was always usually kind of moving back and forth from there. However, my mind was always further than just America or even just my family back home back in Barbados. It was like the
Mhm.
entire world. I was always curious. So being able to at least move a little more freely now, and not always freely, but just enough to where like I'm lucky enough to able to go to a different country or lucky
Mhm.
enough to go to a different state for a while, and just that's a big form of success for me, the idea of being able to financially being able to maintain that, but also being able to financially maintain your life back at home. That's a form
Yeah.
of success for me.
Yep.
As well as being able to, even for myself, like having friends or having family or having even a business to where I can work with it, I can feed into it, I can assist it when it's needed be, but not feeling like it's overwhelming. That's a
Yep.
big form of success for me, especially at my age, because it's an age where there's a lot that's out in the world. So being able to successfully grow something, but from like a actual professional and from a standpoint of it's not being taken or it's something that's just free or handed to me. That's a big form of success for me. And then as a success from the business perspective, those are all aligned with it, but it increases to where it's where you're always going towards something new. I don't look at something where okay, you do one solid thing and then that's it for you. I like the idea of always growing. So obviously you're gonna have that one solid thing, but you're always looking for new avenues to grow into, or even if it's the same one of, let's say my example is fashion,
Mhm.
being able to always push your new limit, and not being limited to what's around you or limited to whatever the trend or fashion is. So that's success, being able to successfully create and execute an idea without feeling constricted to what's around you because it's not what you might normally see. That's big for success for me.
Yeah. Do you feel that some people can't seem to get past go? So like when a lot of people tell me they want to be in business, but they don't, what's the word? There's two types of people in the world. There's work processors and
Yeah.
there's work creators. You know what I mean? And so work creator, you can get yourself up and make sure that you get done what you have to get done. Have you always been like that, or did you have to develop that?
Yeah. Work processors or work creators. I feel like for myself, I've always been in the work creating just because even as a kid, I was a skateboarder all my life outside of fashion. So
Okay.
growing up, I was always taking those initial risks of when skateboarding as a whole is a risk in itself of wanting to skate and try to do like a trick or a stair set or whatever it is. So if I didn't attempt those things, I would have never been getting progressed inside those things. And lucky enough, obviously now I'm not skating the way I used to skate, but
Mhm.
my friends do, and seeing them and where they're at, it's cool to see it because those same friends now are becoming professional skateboarders or are professional skateboarders. So
Wow.
I can see that the progress that even if I let's say consistently stay with that with those same people, I could likely be in that same that same predicament as them now, being able to really make that skateboard fun things we're having to a now profession and being able to provide for me and mine. So that's one of them. But then two, I've never seen myself in a way where I had to work for somebody. I think that was what aided me into where I'm at now. I've always had the mindset of like, I want to do something. I want to create. I want to do something, but I never had the idea. So I think I always knew I would have to do it.
Right.
So always having that mindset of, well, I know I'm not gonna be able to just somebody's gonna just fall into my lap with that. I gotta go do it. And that's kind of what even helped me back in college to where it's like I could have easily gotten a job on the campus, but I personally just want to start creating, and I didn't know where it was going to take me. Like I didn't take
Right.
it as an idea. Like I just said, okay, I want to start doing sneakers, and that small amount of like risk rather than just kind of going the safe route of getting something on campus opened a whole entire new world to me to where now even to this day it's still helping me in my life and supporting my life and other ways relationship wise.
Wow. That so now I want to pull out a clue there. So these are called clues. I hope y'all are taking notes. Uh Activity. This is one thing I always say, Miles, to our clients. Activity produces knowledge. Knowledge does
Yeah,
not produce activity, right? And so if you want the power, Emerson said you have to do the thing. So you start doing the thing and then you just adjust and you learn some stuff and then okay, this could be a business because there's demand for
yeah,
this and I'm making money. And that's
yeah,
that's the thing. People want to do what they want to do, but you've got to do what I mean, you want to do what you want to do, but does the market
yeah,
is the ultimate decision maker? Does
yeah,
what people will give you their money for it? That will
yeah,
tell you if you have a business or not, right?
yeah.
So that's cool. Let me tell you something about him. So one of the things that has impressed me about you, Miles, is that the business, started doing well, but you're very frugal.
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
whereas you're not, you're having fun. He loves to travel. He calls me up last week. Well, all right, can we push our appointment back? I'm jet lagged because I
Yeah.
just got out from somewhere. and but I love that. See, and just the freedom. My kids are becoming like that. The freedom that hey, the world is my playground, right?
Yeah.
And I think for Black kids, just to just keep it real, that's what I want to see, that you can be there, you have the right to be there, and you can flow just like everybody else flows, like, and so to have the confidence to show up and not be intimidated. That's what I see
Yeah.
with you. One of my daughters is studying abroad in France right now, and I got another one living in New York at 23, trying to
Mhm.
pursue her dreams. So it's like, having the confidence to do that. Do you find your peers, and I'm wondering if it's behind, you're from Barbados, right? And so I
Yeah.
find that you're Black, but you're Caribbean,
Yeah.
right? And so you flowed back and forth. You have I know your dad very well, right? And so there's a philosophy of hard work, and he did real
Yeah.
estate. Do you find like that, just that example, that mixture kind of helped you to say, hey, look, I think I can kind of do my own thing.
Yeah, for sure. My dad, of course, he's told me his life story, coming over at 18 and, him getting his first house, and then that from there, the next that. So hearing his story as a kid growing up and also even I would say even more now, in my adult years, like let's say even coming out of college, like that again, that 2020 conversation with him and learning more about him
Hmm.
was what really more sparked me even just wanting to pursue myself, my own internal self
Hmm.
more and finding, what I can do in the world. And because before that, I genuinely did not have an idea of what it was outside of opportunities that were being given to me.
Hmm.
But that conversation, those conversations, and just thinking more into myself and just seeing where I'm at, I did see those things. And also, of course, growing up again, traveling back and forth was
Yeah.
great. But I also just always kinda took in, like, and, seeing art pieces of my family, like, in different ways. So, like,
Hmm.
when I went over there years ago, I did, like, a whole paper just on Barbados as well as, like, some parts of my family, and I found, like, more artists. I found this and that third other b entrepreneurs in their own way. And, just seeing all those things, again, consistently growing up and then adding them all now, I always had it in my way that I would likely be in a way like doing something myself.
Hmm.
Again, not really predicting to be fashion, but yes, for sure, growing up and seeing that and having those conversations and being around my family rather than I think the way some of my other peers that I grew up where, being here and not having that, ability to like, okay, like travel,
Right.
I was never foreign it was never a foreign thing to me. It was always something to me, and that's, like, sort of I'm, very fortunate of that sort of luxury of being able to travel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't wanna take that for granted, and I want to, of course, later on, of course, provide it to mines, but in the meantime, how can I grow it for myself?
That's cool. Can you think of or discuss a specific challenge or setback you faced in building your business and how you overcame it?
Yeah, a big one I would say, of course, I'll say one big one is finding my ideal market. Finding our ideal market is especially the time where I started my brand. Um, at first, it seemed like it's going to be a little bit easier because it's just again like it's fashion, but then you started to get into it and you see a lot of others who are also trying to find their ideal market, which could possibly
Hmm.
be the market you're trying to get into, and then
Hmm.
that becomes what they call a competitor. So, finding that ideal market was a little bit difficult because that was in 2020, 2021, a lot of other people, especially on social media, were starting clothing brands because we were all at home. So, like, we were just trying to find our own entrepreneurial journeys, and I think a lot of people swayed towards fashion once they seen it could be lucrative and then that, just creating clothes. However, once I started to realize that the market I was going for before was just I'm based in Philadelphia, so a lot of the market was around sweatsuits and around like, just t-shirts and things. And yeah, my switch to my t-shirt could be more unique by the print of it, the design of it, but it was again like just a sweatsuit and a t-shirt within a sea of sweatsuits and t-shirts from the
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
So I think once I transitioned myself from doing that to then doing something more niche, which was my hats, my beanies that were again successful for me, I think that's what opened a new door for me. But that came from me just looking at myself internally. Like I didn't look at the market around me. I looked at, okay, what is something that I would like to see? Because I've always had the uniqueness within me and people always attracted to what I would wear. So instead of me trying to be attracted to what they're wearing and what it, can make me just quick money off of what they like to wear at the moment, how can I make them want to wear something they've never tried before? And it was a question to myself that was, of course, a challenge because you're taking a risk on that, especially when it's a product, a new product to you and a new product to those around you.
Right.
However, I think that was again one of those good risks. Those are good risks to take. And
Yeah.
now where I'm at, I would never regret it, of course, but it's still something that I do think of to where it's like if I look back at it, the challenge of finding the market and just sticking within what I seen around me, and I just try to pretty much compromise for it for the sake of making money. I think that's what would have held me back from where I'm going towards now.
And but you work through it. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm thinking of so talk to a young let's say I'm in school or I've just got out of school, and what would your advice to them trying to find their way. I mean, because everybody, should they, maybe let's say you haven't done this career path, so it might be hard to answer this. But let's say you can work with something and then kind of think of your ideas on the side. Like I always say, wages make you a living, profits make you
Mhm.
a fortune. Um, and I always tell my kids, work to learn, don't work for money. So,
Yeah.
like, I have a daughter working at a music management company, and I'm saying, this is what my dad would do to me. One time I was working at a clothing store down in South Philly, and I was like, oh, dad, and because I wasn't any good at the insurance business yet. So I always had to subsidize what I was
Mhm.
doing. And he would go, um, you're bored. Well, could you run the clothing store if you wanted to? I don't know. Pay attention then. He would send me back and I would go back to work and then I would look at how I knew the owners were multimillionaires and I would like
Mhm.
kind of look at how stuff worked. I would talk to the salespeople that I understood pricing and wholesale and retail and markup and margins, in the clothing business. And so uh I could now, if I wanted to, go into that business because business is business
Mhm.
um, as opposed to I wasn't good enough at sales basically to get my own thing going. So is there a happy medium? I mean, you end up doing it. Your overhead was low, so you could kind of you because my dad's always say you got to take risks. He says when you eat, your whole family eats,
Yeah.
and you got to try stuff.
Yeah.
Which is what I see you done. So as you get older, your parents get smarter. so
Yeah.
so I'm putting that in here for you so I can present it to your dad, right? So
Yeah.
I don't even know what the question was in there, but does that the advice for and I'm thinking of somebody specifically, but a younger person still trying to break into this world? Is there opportunity there in your mind? Uh
Yes, is it you're talking about more of the world of fashion or just world
yes.
entrepreneurship? Okay, so
I'm both, but
both okay,
fashion.
I'll mix it into
You're
2.
yeah.
Um, so I would say for myself, giving the best advice I possibly can get off of it is somewhere where of course, yeah, for myself, for example, like, okay, like you talked about working at a retailer, I worked at a retailer and it was within my field, luckily enough.
Mhm.
However, even while being there, I always knew that, like, okay, like, I kind of like I went there for an internship, let's start there. I
Yeah.
went there for
Yeah.
internship. They didn't have opportunity for internship, so they just gave me a job, and I just took the job, and then it just worked out in my favor to where me taking the job rather than saying, "Okay, well, now I want an internship, so never mind." It gave me a new, way to connect with people, and,
Mhm.
for myself, yeah, people knew me through social media, but a lot of people didn't know me in person, in terms of, like, was talking to me day to day. So being in, like, this store that was had like had a good like, flow of traffic day in day out, whether it was the average customer to celebrity sometime. It allowed me to start getting my ways of communication up, which I wasn't as well at in person. Like I was
Mhm.
always like I can talk, but like it wasn't like where I'm selling a product that wasn't even my
Mhm.
product to somebody. Like I was just posting on Instagram and people liked it, people DM me, okay, cool. But now I have to sell a product that's not mine to somebody. I have to, find new ways to see what their interests are, how to spark it. And that allowed me to study a customer face to face and build a relationship face to face. So now growing into that new world of entrepreneurship, that actually really much aided me at the time. And even my boss at the time, he would give me advice of, working on X a day or, for 10 minutes a day, would help you to the next level. And I didn't just solely put that towards that, he said it because I was a graphic designer. I also put it towards other things like,
Yeah.
my own personal stuff and just 10 minutes a day on each thing, like at the least
Yep.
and just working on something each day, I could actually see the success of it. I could see the actual growth of it. So for myself, I started to work with other people outside of even my my business while being there. I'm now working with other smaller local brands in Philadelphia, and I'm taking his advice again of networking people, talking to people, finding things that if I didn't work there, if I didn't put myself in positions like, okay, let me just kind of be here, I don't know if I would have gotten that advice at that time in the way I did. And then also the uniqueness of where I was working at, it was opening my mind up to the possibilities of this is a family owned business. It wasn't like it was like a just a chain store. It was like he owned this store. So I'm talking to the guy who owned this and put his all into it while also having a family. and he's open to me up to this opportunity of, conversation and learning. And I do really suggest people work at somewhere that is something within their field. But even if it's not, let's say if it's somewhere that is a little bit opposite, let's say somebody wanted to be in fashion still, but they worked at somewhere that was more towards, let's say they were an intern, or not an intern, let's say they were assisted somebody who was an interior designer, like, just throw
Mhm.
it out there. Like, it's similar with the design, but it's very much different within the market. But when you're there, you're also studying things like, again, your client, you're studying
Right,
things like, what your client's in need of.
right,
So, okay, it might not be what you're selling, not selling something like that to somebody, but in yourself, you want to sell something. So what is the basis of, what's the bare bones of those things, and take what the bare is, and then just adapt it to what you want to get into. And I think that's what nowadays we have to learn more of consistently, is how to be adaptable to what possibly, if you're not in the right alignment to what you want to be, find a way to adapt it to what you want to be, and just take out those components that work, and then just fall out the ones that don't work. And then you will start finding new things out of it. And that will make you more interested in what you're doing as you grow in that. But then don't sit there. Also, when you go home, or also when you have possible downtime, find now new ways to add it to what you gotta do, whether it's just research. Like, I didn't just start off and just making clothes. I researched brands, I researched people, I researched everything, and I just studied them, and I just enjoyed it. I didn't just automatically, oh, I want to do a clothing brand, let me just jump into it. It was like, no, I was also still working with other brands and making their visions come to life. And then once I realized, like, okay, I'm doing good here, and I think, like, they're all being successful off of what I'm creating, how
right.
can I create it for myself? And stepping back from that and then just putting it all into myself was a risk in itself, because now I'm
Yeah.
taking the consistent money of doing designs for them, but I realized that I'm losing a lot of my time by doing those designs for them, rather than just taking time to myself, taking whatever financial hit is possible, and look, again, fortunate enough to be able to do those things and propel myself into this new space
Yeah.
that I want to be in, but I'm not taking the risk and trying to be in.
Wow. I love, cause see, I'm so glad you said that. Like, you learn sales, like, because one of the things, business is business, right? So when our kids somewhere work somewhere, I'll say, listen, all right, it's three parts of business, right? And this is, I think, working with the entrepreneur that you saw, right? And so
Mhm.
I break it down into before, during, and after, right? So before, so I'll ask myself, okay, how do they get people to the store? That's the
Mhm.
before you. How do I'm attracting people? You have to figure it out, because you can have a great thing, but if nobody knows you had the great thing, or if
Yeah.
you're not introducing it to the marketplace, what difference does it make, right? Then the during. So what you learn there is how to, because I started out in retail, right,
Yeah.
and how to even, like, even be on a cash register at 12 at my parents' supermarket, right? Being able to talk to adults and have conversation and count money at the same time before they had the computers to tell you what the change was going to be, right?
Mhm.
Or when I was at Tom McCann, it's like, would you like some polish with that, right? And put the taps and learn how to upsell, right? To
Yeah.
create extra money. All of those
Yeah.
little things make a lot of money, because when you do the upsell, that's pure profit, right? And so
Yeah.
you gotta learn that stuff. That's so powerful that you would go through that. And so what I want y'all to see is, like, it's not a straight road to the top. There's a lot of things Miles have done that's leading. And he's only, what are you, 24?
26.
20, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. I missed 2 years. Okay. So, but he's still 26, right?
Yeah.
And but that being said, he's been doing this now, what, like 8 years?
Yeah.
About 8 or 9. You really been thinking about it all the time, but you've been doing it. We started making money. We're around 18, 19.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's powerful. So that's what I want people to see. That's where I have enough, my nephew, and we talked about, what he's doing, and he does that. He says he looks at magazines, he studies
Mhm.
trends, you know, and so as I talked to him, he's kind of like me, because I've always been like that nerdy, analytical, let's figure out how stuff works study. So it's good. And one of the things that Miles said is powerful. He takes time to think
Yeah.
and to study and to know, and so he worked, but you also have to work on yourself, because your number one asset is you,
Yeah.
right? And what do you work on? Your mindset, what you watch, hang around, listen to, your skill set, which you work on constantly, and your network. right? So like when
Mhm.
we talk about when you're getting in the rooms where people are operating at a higher level. And so, what do they say? Birds of a feather flock together. So if
Mhm.
you get in a room with high level people, you can't not be a bum, right? You're going to, elevate to the level of the people in the room. So that's what I want y'all. That's why I wanted you to come on, Miles, because I wanted to hear uh I wanted people to hear that. Are there tell them let's talk a little bit about, just from a marketing standpoint, because I think marketing is marketing. How what role did and does social media play in you expanding out your people being aware of what you're doing?
Yeah. So when it comes to social media, I mean, social media is now, especially now, is like the bread and butter to a lot of businesses that are first starting out that don't
Mhm,
have the means of, just dumping tens of thousands of dollars into paid advertisements on like big platforms and stuff. Like you could start off with your own and just see where you
mhm,
go. And it's crazy because I actually was just in a like like a TikTok live the other day, and they were just talking about these things. And social media, like that was always what started me off, even when I didn't started off like, again, going back, funneling all the way back to I can go all the way back to high school, honestly, but I'm gonna go just start at college just because that was
mhm,
where it started really heavily at. But starting in college, and again, my that was my freshman year when I started to just do custom sneakers, like my freshman year, second semester. And it wasn't only it went from, I believe it's like March till I think it was like, let's say May, June, that those X amount of months of me just being consistent with that and then just posting just because I just like the idea of doing sneakers and I'm getting paid like literally like I think my first show I did was like $20, which is crazy at the time. But I mean, at the time, it's like, I just need some, just wanted to try it out. But then it went from there. And then I think the highest shoe I've ever sold was upwards of $1,000. So, like, of the same, from where I started till then. So, but that all came really through the power of social media, where if I didn't stay consistent with my posting, if I didn't post and, reply to people, if I didn't, just get my stuff out there as often as I could, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do the things I've done and grow how I've grown. So between posting and then other course blog posts picking it up, and then nowadays, let's say having a clothing brand, it's like, okay, starting off again, I didn't have the means to just automatically funnel money into marketing. So how can I get creative in my own self? And
mhm,
that's where you have to get your mind at. You have to be creative with what you want to post, because there's a lot of people out there always posting every single day. It's social media. So you're not going to automatically you can't just post a t-shirt on the ground and like automatically, like, if your first sale, yeah, some people could do that once they get to that point of growing their brand,
mhm,
but you can't just automatically assume, well, this is going to be successful for me. So in the meantime, how can I do something creative? That's why I suggest people doing photo shoots, or so that's people doing things that just stand out a little bit more. So on social media, you have to find again, what is your pocket? What is your brand's purpose while being here? And even my own personal branding. How are you showing yourself off? Because your brand, your personal brand is a part of your brand.
right.
So, putting those hand in hand and finding ways to just create something unique, but not something that's forced of uniqueness, is what you want to ideally go towards. So again, like learning and studying the means of social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, whatever
Mhm,
your personal social platform is, usually, like for my example, for mine, I've always been an Instagram person. Like, yeah, I've always been where I'm at. So obviously my main follow and everything I like on my Instagram, because that's where people mainly know me at. However, okay, like that's a good one. How do I get into the next one? But how do I get into this one while also not following ideas that I can't do in this one? So you want to, of course, leverage your Instagram or leverage whatever your main platform is in your favor and post there heavily, but then utilize that same content into
yeah.
into your TikTok, and then how from the TikTok you can make videos, then leverage that backwards to now your Instagram. Like you have to make them kind of work hand in hand. You can't push and pull in a way that makes it feel like there's going to be friction. It has to be some sort of cohesion so that things can grow on both sides and people can find you a little bit easier.
How do you learn? How did you know that, or do you like? What are you doing to learn this stuff? Are you just in a group where that's what y'all do? You know,
No,
how
like,
did you?
No, it's literally me studying, like, it's something I'm still learning, and me saying this isn't even me of, like, a great asset and perfection of it, I'm still
Mhm.
literally learning, like, I just lucky enough to start to have some more team members a part of the team, but this is me literally every single day, like, just and of course, obviously, they always say, "Oh, yeah, don't be in your don't be in your phone so much," especially on social media, but if you're doing it in a strategical way where you're trying to do to learn and benefit your business or benefit yourself, that's the change in that. Like that's where you change the direction rather than you just
Right,
kind of being there scrolling, aimlessly into nothing and nothingness.
right.
But you're like my TikTok is about like how oh yeah brands it's we suggest you doing this. Like if you really look through my feed and it's a lot of like people giving you advice to clothing brands or just brands in general, but heavily clothing brands since that's my market.
Right.
And they're giving like, okay, like what's the trends of 2024 or what's this and that third. And before again, I wasn't a big TikToker. Like my girlfriend, she really was trying to get me on TikTok, and I just wasn't into it. I didn't really get I got it, but I just wasn't like really fond of it because everything I was seeing was that nothingness. But then once I found that area, once the algorithm starts altering in a way that benefited me of like learning,
Mhm.
that's when I started to tap in more to because I'm like, okay, like now I don't feel as uncomfortable making personal TikToks while my brand one. I'm like, okay, how can I get this? And that's the thing. I ask questions. I don't really just sit there and just kind of like if I'm unknowing of things, I really do on my way to ask questions. So I have luckily enough around some friends around me who are successful in their careers of
Yeah.
fashion, or
Yeah.
whether they're just doing it because they're just good at it, or other ones who are good at it because they put through like the social media. I really try to ask questions because I don't want to fall behind in trying to figure something out, and now I'm frustrated. I'm getting
Mhm.
stuck in this way, and then now nothing's working. Like, ask your friend, ask somebody locally, even ask somebody on Instagram. Like, yo, like just DM, like, hey, yeah, like I'm really trying to like, get more into this. Like I would love to, learn from you some way. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. And then sometimes you might have something of benefit to them that they might see, and they're like, okay, well, like let's just work something out. Like, it could be a paid one, or it could be something where you're just building a relationship with somebody, and that's the ones I
Right.
like more of.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like you have to find ways. So, and then even from there's YouTube. There's so many resources and outlets nowadays. Like even if it's an article of how
Right.
can you improve yourself on these social platforms, and just try. Like it's all about trial and error. I don't me myself. I'm doing trial and error on everything. Like
Right.
I'm growing my brand. It's a strategical side of trial and error that you can do, and there's a strategical risk. So, and how can you strategize your way of taking what you may know at the very moment and elevating it to the next level? So, okay, let's say I, for example, have a beanie and I'm like, I want to post on Instagram, but I don't really know how to really get it on Instagram right way. Oh, but I like personally, I like 3D stuff. I like art, I like anime, I like things like that. So how can I make my brand, how can I make my market attracted to this beanie rather than just taking a picture of it on a flat ground? I'm gonna reach out to this guy who does 3D work and get into some rotating beanie ads and post it. And then from there, now my Instagram's going up more because people are like, dang, this is really unique. It's a
Right.
hat, but the way he's presenting it is very unique. So you have to just find the uniqueness in yourself, and that's how you build your market platform.
That's gold right there.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you stay motivated and resilient in the face of, competition and, do you find that the market
Mhm.
fluctuates? How do you keep yourself ahead of that or keep yourself flowing through that?
I think for myself, it's when one, I don't, I love this too much to not give my all to it. And
Mhm.
I think that's something that that's not a thing. I know that's something you have to have within whatever field you're in, but especially in fashion, because fashion is not always going to be just bread and butter. Okay, like here, like you have a drop, that's a success for me. Here's the money from it. Like, and that's something I think a lot of people, especially now, because there's again so many clothing brands, people
Uh,
look at it as opportunity to create merch, create things. But if you're really trying to get in deep into fashion, not just slap a logo on a hoodie and then just try to make money off of it. There's a lot that goes towards it. So I think not only having the love for it, but then also curiosity of it. If you lose your curiosity within your field of wanting to learn something new, that can really stump you in your growth because now you feel like you've either known everything, which you clearly don't,
mhm.
or you just feel like the interest of even just learning in general is just isn't there. I think every single day, even if I'm not doing my own clothing brand stuff, like right now, for example, I just got a project manager and I got like a production manager for my clothing and marketing. And this is new to me where I'm like hiring people to help me out in this way,
Yeah.
but it's like
Yeah.
that I have to learn it. So now I'm over here sitting down and studying, writing down notes on what they are, and it's opening my
Right.
eyes up more. Oh,
Because
snap.
it's the art tist, right? And
Yeah,
now, but it's the business. I need a
yeah,
bookkeeper. I'm hopefully hoping to help them save money and that
yeah.
kind of stuff because I want you to keep. It's like the three skills of money are make it, keep it, grow it. But now the operations
Yeah,
is
the
what.
operations behind it,
Yeah,
how are they flowing? Like, you can
right.
get lost really fast inside of it, especially if you do make money, it can really hit you hard and then you lose it really fast. So, it's like, okay, like, I think again, just having that idea of curiosity, the desire of knowing more, the
Right.
knowledge there,
Right.
that's what keeps you going with it. Like, it's nothing that's just you wake up every day, you just know exactly what you're gonna do. You don't know if the next day you're gonna have 10 sales, 100 sales, one sale, no sales. But it's like, how can I be sure in myself that what I'm making is being consistently thought of in people's minds? And how can I, if I'm not consistently think of how to grow it, why would I
Yeah.
consistently think somebody else is going to be thinking about it? So you have to be
Yeah.
on top of it before it.
If as you think ahead, what are some of your long-term goals for your line? Um, that you are like goals you're setting for yourself to continually grow, and where do you see the brand
Mhm.
3 years from now, as I say?
Okay. So long-term goals for mine, I want to 100% get into more retailers. So that's a goal for mine for the long term of the brand. So where my business is in this or that store, whatever the third is. But on top of that, my really big goal of mine is building a strong community and building
Mhm,
people around me who like even like conversations like this will aid that community and curiosity because I'm a curious being naturally, so I know that there's others like me. I know there's people who are into things like me. So how can I provide what I know to those people so they can feel more open to trying and taking those opportunities? And how can we create conversation? Those are two long-term goals.
mhm,
Additionally to that, I really would love to create some type of like space, like build some type of space, whether it's building a literal actual warehouse structure or just buying it somehow, and creating a space to where students, of all backgrounds can come to, especially within the city of Philadelphia where a lot of the resources aren't available. I would love to create some type of space to where people are able to come to and connect with each other through whatever they're creatively, a part of. So whether you're in fashion design, graphic design, architecture, music, you're in this space and you're like utilizing the resources that are there to create what you want to create, but you're also connecting with others around you. So if there's a musician, like a rapper or like a singer or whoever it is, or an R&B singer who needs somebody who could style them. Okay, well somebody's downstairs who can help you style it. Okay, well do you need somebody to help you market it? Okay, well there's somebody upstairs. And then on top of that, the top floor, I really would love it to have some free or opportunities for therapy because growing in the city of Philadelphia is always, this is a very, very dangerous city, unfortunately, and it's a lot of things happen every single day. So being able to provide um free or some type of compensated therapy sessions to help. Okay, you can be creative, but then how are you letting out that creativity outside of just through your art? Are you really talking about? Are you really healing yourself? So giving those type of opportunities is a really big long-term goal for me. That's like the big success of the brand. And then even short term right now that goes towards long term is traveling more. The way I
mhm.
learn a lot is by traveling and learning more about other people's cultures and how can I bring those cultures back in my own unique ways to the city while also feeding it back. So right now that's like a big short to long term goal of this year. I'm trying to travel a little bit more outside of the country rather than in the country, just so I
Mhm.
can find those, new places and, learn new things I can bring back to a city, especially have friends around me who are really talented, who aren't as, open to travel as me possibly. But maybe if I go there, it can spark the interest in them to try to possibly do it. You never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, somebody's gotta say, "Look, it's okay to do this." It's
Mhm.
to be that person. It's funny that you talk about building a community. One of the goals, and I'm so glad we met and that we're talking, is my pet peeve is to see people do well and then they're just balling out, big cars, that all this in there, and I'm counting their. I shouldn't be counting their money, but I count their money, and I'm like, listen, dude, how much you saving? How much you? So one of my goals is, all right, listen, you got to make it, but then you got to keep it and you got to grow it so that you're becoming financially independent, not just like making a lot of money, because income
Yeah.
is not wealth. And so I'm hoping, that as we continue this conversation, I want to make sure. And then even people, young people, as you're listening to this, you need like a financial coach because that's part of it, right? Because
Yeah.
really, truth be told, I always say, Myles, is that your financial plan meaning not like investing or whatever. I mean, what do you want and why? Is the, you know what I mean? Is the financial
Yeah.
plan. What do you want your life to look like? How do you know when you've won?
Yeah.
Example, right? Which is, passive. Because to me, if you shut the business down, you're still supposed to be financially independent, right? So that
Yeah.
means your profit, you're buying real estate, you're doing other stuff so that you're making money outside of your labor, but your best investment is the business. That's your fastest path to cash. But you've got to you know, and I teach people, I focus on growing my business, but what can I do outside of that? Am I saving? Am I liquid? That kind of stuff. So, and hopefully we'll continue those conversations between you and I. But tell them, here's what, so as we close, what I want you to do is tell them how to follow you, how can they find out what you're doing? How can they take a look, at your line? Anything you want to tell them, how to find you and follow you and stay in touch.
Yeah, so my brand's Instagram and TikTok are emotional therapy as all one word, and then it's an underscore, one underscore at the end, so emotional therapy underscore. And then my personal Instagram is Malo97. On TikTok, I think it's like Malo97, but it's like two underscores between Malo and 97.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like honestly, the best place to literally reach me at consistently is on the Instagram because that's where I'm
Hmm.
usually on the most.
Okay.
So yeah, like I have a few events come throughout this year, within Philadelphia, within different states and stuff. So I would say again, just keep updated to the main brands platform, Instagram, and hopefully that this gets out to people, and maybe even when I'm at these events, they come up and we have conversations.
All right, cool. Listen, thank you so much. I listen when y'all. I you need to play this and then play it again. If you're listening, you need to go back and get a notepad because he dropped serious gems on there of just a thought process, his thought process, some tactics of that you can use to be more successful, right? Because success leaves clues. So
Yeah,
Myles, thank you so much, and of sharing your wisdom with our listeners. And I appreciate you, my brother. And thanks again.
thank you.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Hi there, I'm Curtis May, and I'm here to help you achieve your financial goals. Do you want to be the customer bank, or would you like to be the bank? Subscribe to our channel for regular updates, valuable insights from experts in different fields. You know, the name of the game, guys, is cash flow. Okay. You want, you can't eat equity. And our goal is to help you build, we call it being a cash flownaire, which is passive income twice your expenses outside of Wall Street where possible, right? Which is quite possible. And so if you're interested in learning more about our services, here is what I challenge you to do, or I invite you to do, I won't say challenge, is to take our financial freedom quiz. See where you are, okay? Don't wait any longer to take control of your financial future. Let's begin this journey together.